One of the key features of our watches are the hands, and I'm now going to show you how we finish a set of hands for one of my Series 2 wristwatches. Here before me we have a set of, there's a minute, hour, seconds and then an up and down hand. And what I'm going to go through with you is the various processes, which include the hardening and tempering, the cleaning up, the polishing, and then finishing with the bluing and finally the fitting to the wristwatch. In order to put a nice polish and bluing onto the steel work of the hands, each hand has to be hardened and tempered. And so now what I'm doing is just putting these hands into this steel pan, which will then heat up and eventually quench the hands into this water and oil jar here. So we're wanting to heat this plate up to a sort of a cherry red in order to bring the steel to temperature. Those hands have now been quenched, and we'll just remove them with this magnet. And first thing to do is just to check to make sure they've hardened correctly. So the first stage now, before checking the hardness, is just to clean the back off of the hands off, just so we get some fresh metal in order to test it. So with the hour hand, just cleaning it with this emery block. It's important that every single hand is checked so that we don't waste time when we come to finishing of the hands. Okay, so that's now cleaned up enough. And all we do, we just check with a screwdriver. We just take one of the hands and just see if it scrapes. And if it doesn't, which that doesn't, now means that those hands are hard enough and we'll be able to get a really good polish on these hands. So the next stage though is now to temper them, because now that the hands have been hardened, they are really very fragile and brittle, and tempering just allows some of these stresses out of the metal, and by doing that it just means that we can work on the hand without fear of breaking. The next stage is to temper the hands, and tempering, what we are doing is we're heating the hands up to around about 270 degrees. And this will just bring down the brittleness of the hands, and it will make sure that I can polish them and finish them without fear of breaking them. So the first thing we do is to take a torch, light it, and then we can start to warm up our bluing pan here. So first of all we just bring this to a temperature. And what I tend to do too, when I know that I'm reaching the temperature, I just bring it close to my face and I feel the heat, and it's a little gauge that I sort of use in order to tell me that the plate is now coming to the right temperature, ready for the tempering process. So I think that's about ready. So I just put one hand at a time, drop it on, and take it through to a light blue finish. Only for a few seconds. It's all done very quickly. And there we are. The four hands have now been tempered, and I can now start the finishing and cleaning up process, and without fear of them breaking.